Hi, guys. How many newbies here? Who's their first Dragon Con here? Show of hands here. Wow, look at that. Welcome. Round of applause for all the people the first time here. I'm going to tell you right now, I can almost guarantee this will not be your only time at Dragon Con. If this is your first time, you will probably come back and come back and come back, like me, and come back. This is now my 9th year as the director of all Star Trek programming at Dragon Con. To this day, I'm still the only actor to go behind the scenes to work at a convention in the history of conventions. And you have chosen, for all you newbies and all you returning attendees know this, you have chosen the best convention to attend in the world. Nothing compares to this convention. And this is one of the reasons why I went behind the scenes to be a volunteer director at Dragon Con, to ensure that I can come back every year and not have to wait for 6 years. I came here in 2003 for the first time as a guest. 2009, I showed back up again 6 years later. I asked every year, 04, 05, 06, 07, 08, please let me come back. And they were like, no. We've got to invite TNG people and DS9 people, blah, 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 blah. And finally, I get back 2009. I'm on stage, and the Trek Track director at the time, who had been the director for 17 years, was sitting at the edge of the stage. And I said at the end of my panel, it'd be great if you could have me back as a co-host or something next year, maybe. He rolled his eyes, and he was let go that year. Not because he rolled his eyes, just because other things. And I wrote in an email immediately saying, what do you think of me as your Trek Track director? And they thought, is this an April Fool's joke? I said, no, I just want to ensure that I'm here every single year. I don't want to wait 6 years to come back again. And they said, we'll give you a trial run. And I think I'm still on my trial run right now, 9 years later. All right. Welcome to Trek Track, everybody. Thank you so much for appearing here. For the newbies out there, Miss Star Trek Universe is on Sunday. You'll really love that if you haven't seen it, so come on by. And you are now attending the Star Trek Alumni panel. So we have some different actors from different series here, starting with Mr. Walter Koenig from the original series. Pavel Chekov. Hey, there's a remote mic there. Did you want to say anything? No? Only 5 rows heard what you said. Are you okay there? Okay. Oh my God. Okay. I don't know if anyone else but me had a heart attack when he first jumped off. I thought, Walter Koenig is going to die during my panel at Dragon Con when he trips and falls. But you are sprightly, sir, so thank you for doing that and scaring the bejesus out of me. Oh my God. Walter, why'd you do that to me?
I didn't do it to you.
He goes, I didn't do it to you. That's my Walter impersonation.
Did he tell you, did Garrett tell you that we have our last name means the same thing?
Do we know that? Koenig, K-O-E-N-E-I-G. It's a German last name. It means king in German. Wang, W-A-N-G, how you pronounce my name, not Wang. Wang also means king in Chinese. So we are the kings of Star Trek right here. All right, without further ado, let's bring in our next guest. He's been on almost every single Star Trek ever. He's known as Q, Mr. John de Lancie. And last but not least, my colleague from Voyager, Mr. Ethan Phillips. Neelix, come on out, sir. Sir?
I feel like I'm about to take a test here. I don't know why I have a pencil.
Now, Senator, when you were at the...
Oh, hijinks of...
No.
Look,
I guess it is musical chairs, isn't it? All right.
You know, of all my conventions, this is the most recent.
it's like bumper cars. That was fun. Okay.
I've seen younger faces on cash. Look at you guys.
Here we go.
It's starting. I don't think we've ever had a collection of actors from all these different shows like this, right? This is
Never. This has never happened
never
before.
happened. No.
I don't think so, no. It doesn't.
Yeah. It's kind of nice, though.
It's okay.
And you three. I actually like you three. I mean, you three are great. You really are.
I look at these three guys and I think, wow, two of my favorite people. You got to figure out which one.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Yes, you in the back with the shirt on.
For those of you who don't know, Ethan Phillips is a joke collector. He collects jokes. He has a database of thousands and thousands of jokes on his. He used to have a pad of paper, but now it's on a computer, right? Do you have everything logged in?
At this point, most of them are in my mind.
You know, actually, that's quite true. You have a database in your head
Yes, I do.
of jokes.
Yes.
Yep.
And you could say, I need 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I can do 20 minutes.
Yeah.
40 minutes,
Yeah.
60 minutes. On the cruise, which we all did.
No, I didn't do it.
Oh, what's that? He said he didn't do it. Oh, okay.
Nobody asked me.
Oh.
It's okay. It's okay.
Johnny just ended up, I mean, you know, and he was practicing some of them beforehand. And some of them we go, oh, that's great. And then there are others we go, no, you cannot tell that one.
I told one in Las Vegas, and about 20% of the audience got up and walked out.
Yeah.
It was pretty dark.
In Las Vegas?
In Las Vegas. Can you imagine if I told that in Cleveland?
Okay, I just wanted, John, it's talking about people walking out. Do you remember this, John? John and I were at a convention in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It was called Trek Expo. It's no longer in existence, but they had a talent show for actors where the actors were required to get up and do something. John decided to read a short story to the audience. And it was, I think it was called The Devil and Daniel Jones.
The Devil and Billy Markham.
And Billy, sorry, yes. So he gets up to read this short...
No.
He reads the short story in front of the Tulsa Bible Belt fandom, and it's filled with profanity. I mean, left and right. And I can feel them just cringing. I mean, they're just like, I mean, there's blood vessels popping. And finally, John goes, the end. And he closes the book. He turns around to walk out. And as he's walking out, the entire pipe and drape of the stage collapses around him. Like a force of nature, like all the negative energy of all the fans going, ooh, he cussed again, caused this thing to collapse. John froze in the doorway. The only reason why he's not injured is because the entire stage collapses around the door part of it. He's frozen, and I'm like, okay, I've got to cover, because I'm the MC for that, right? So I get up there, and John finally walks backstage. He's safe, and I said, ladies and gentlemen, John de Lancie, Q, is so powerful, he brought the entire stage down. And then at that point, I'm still covering, and I said, it's kind of like in Masters of the Universe, when He-Man gets his power, because He-Man takes his sword, and he goes, by the power of Grayskull, and he gets that power. And so I look in front, there's a guy sitting in the audience, and he's dressed as Gandalf, and I said, can I borrow your staff, sir? So I grab his Gandalf staff. I go, does it light up? And he goes, yeah, just click it. I click it, the top gem lights up the crystal, and I said, it's almost like, by the power of de Lancie, and I hold up this staff, and everyone's laughing their butt off. But the funniest part of the story is the next day, I'm doing a Q&A, and this one fan raises his hand. He says, yeah, we were at the talent show last night. I go, yeah. Well, when we left the show in our pickup, basically our pickup truck broke down. I went, okay. So we tried everything to fix it. It wouldn't fix. So we decided to call on the power of de Lancie. So 2 of us stuck our hands on the engine, and we said, by the power of de Lancie, start! And sure enough, our engine started. Now, I started to tell this story at various conventions, John, and the emails that came in were incredible. People were coming in saying, I was out of work for 9 months. And I sent in this one last resume, and I said, by the power of de Lancie, grant me a job. Boop, and I got a job. Like that. I mean, left and right, the Church of de Lancie was born.
The placards are wrong. As John de Lancie.
Oh.
Anyway, go on, Garrett.
Well, we should have people asking us questions.
They should, I'm sorry. Yes, we have people queued up for questions. Where are they? Are they there, miraculously? Thank you. Don't be shy. Come on up.
Now you're silent. I asked you to be silent when Ian came on, but no, you wouldn't do it then.
Yes, come with your questions.
Testing. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, so first of all, Mr. Koenig, I first saw you in Psychor. Thank you for scaring the hell out of me in Babylon 5. My question is for John de Lancie. So...
Okay, all right. Okay, that was just what? It was like, Mr. Koenig, thank you.
I will channel Walter, though.
Well... in Psychor, he scared the hell out of me. Q, you were just annoying.
Oh! John, you were just
it's a
annoying.
compliment on your acting. So, spoiler alert for those who don't know, Q basically caused the Borg War. And my question to you is, do you think Q was ever be capable of actual, true remorse for what happened to Picard?
I'll take that. I think...
I'm now speaking through Ethan.
I, as Q, would have great remorse. I don't even know if I haven't watched it. What is it going on there?
Remorse for Picard? No, I don't think so. All right, next one.
Oh, are you done?
Yes.
You're not going to channel anybody now, Walter or Ethan?
Well,
Okay.
Walter would go, who?
All right, next question on this side, please. Thank you.
My question's for all 4 of you, and what do you feel about all of this, all of us? What was your first reactions to the fandom, and now, decades later, do we still surprise you?
Ethan Phillips.
Oh, gosh, yes. You know, I've done a lot of TV shows. I've never been to a convention for Matlock. I can't figure it out.
I was on Matlock, too. There.
Hardcastle and McCormick, nope. No, they don't throw anything for them. But you guys are, oh, there we go. No, you guys are just extraordinarily fanatic. And it's a thrill. In all the years I've been doing this, I've never met a Star Trek fan who is a cynic, which I think is pretty amazing. And I think that's a testament to your incredible humanity. So it's a joy for me to know you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. John?
I am constantly surprised, I guess. The first time in which I went to a Star Trek convention, I had absolutely no idea what I was going to be dealing with. And it was in Florida, and it was, I don't know, in August or something like that. And everybody was dressed up, and I went, oh my God, it's like it's Halloween or something. And I came on and I spoke, or was asked the questions. I think it's really amazing that a show could create such a large umbrella that would include so many people, so many diverse people, so many people who are interested in so many different things. And I see day in and day out that everybody, at least within the Star Trek community at these conventions, is really helpful and really nice with each other. And if there is anything about this which is hope for a better future, I think we end up doing it on these weekends. So I'm really happy to be involved.
Good answer. Walter.
Well, I have now breached my 8th decade, folks, and as a consequence, I do a lot of reflecting, and that's what happens. The older you go, the older you grow, the more you remember the old times better than you do the more recent times, and I really never had the right personality to be an actor. I always had a lot of problems with self-esteem, a lot of concerns that I would never really achieve anything. So how fortunate for me to get involved in the one show that carried me for 55 years. I mean, you folks have been the reason why I'm still around, and your parents and your grandparents. So I just find that how lucky I am. I mean, I'm talking from a very selfish, personal point of view. I could talk humanitarian and the fact that we still, we promote a way of life and a sense of love for each other that the entire world does not do, but science fiction fans, Star Trek fans do. Wherever I go, and I've been to South America, I've been to Europe, I've been to Eastern Europe. It's the same thing. You folks are there because you relate to us. You relate to what is being said, what is being discussed, the sense of camaraderie and humanity and respect for each other that we have, and it's a most remarkable thing, and it's so reinforcing to see it again and again wherever we go. It never changes. I've never had a bad experience. Oh yeah, well there was that one time, but but no, really, it's I'm very lucky because I don't have a very strong sense of ambition that I've gotten involved with something that allowed me to continue to work in my chosen field. So thank you for all of that.
Thank you, Walter. For me, I've always been a sci-fi fan. I've always loved science fiction. From the very first sci-fi I saw, which would be 1977 Star Wars when I was 8 years old. So, and I believe that you can have love for Star Trek and Star Wars at the same time. I don't think that's a problem. But I fell in love with all things sci-fi at a very young age. Getting on the show, I was the first Voyager actor to do a convention. We premiered January 16th of 1995 on a Monday. That Friday, I flew to my first convention. Now, I was replacing Kate Mulgrew. Kate Mulgrew was supposed to be at the convention, but she got sick. So they called me on a Wednesday and said, "What are you doing this weekend?" I said, "Well, not much. Do you want to come to a convention?" I said, "Where?" "Minneapolis, Minnesota." Remember, this is January, okay? I get to Minneapolis, and it is the kind of cold where you think that maybe your eyes will freeze, Maybe anything that is liquidy, sort of, saliva, everything will freeze. It's that cold there. And I didn't know how many fans were going to be there. I thought it was going to be a small, intimate gathering of about 75 people, right? Well, I get a knock on my door right before my panel, and it's the head of security for the convention company, and he says, Mr. Wang, my name is Keith Ortiz. I'm head of security for the convention. I'm here to escort you to your panel. And he's wearing a suit, got the whole CIA little earpiece thing in there. All right, we start walking. It's me, Keith Ortiz, my girlfriend at the time, and my manager. We're walking along these corridors, these plus 15s through Minneapolis downtown, and it's a lengthy walk. And while we're walking, he's literally talking into the earpiece. Eagle 1 to base. Come in, please. Yeah, this is base. I have the package, Mr. Wang. We're heading towards the panel. So
Does Mr. Wang have the package? That's the most...
Oh my. That's from your show. Okay, so we're walking along. He's talking to other Eagle. What? He's like, Eagle 1 to Eagle 3.
Yeah, Eagle 3 here. Go ahead. Yeah, we have eyes on you.
So I'm like, eyes on? Where are they? So we're walking. Now we're right before we're about to get into the area, and he's like, Eagle 1 to base. I have Mr. Wang. We're at the doors for the panel. We're ready to go. And at that point, I look at Keith Ortiz. I said, how long is this Q&A at this panel? He's like, approximately 1 hour, sir. I said, oh, well then I've got to go to the bathroom. And he goes, no, you may not. Because they were on a time schedule. He'd already told base that we're waiting to go. They're ready to go. He goes, no, you may not. At which point I looked at Keith Ortiz. I said, yes, I may. And I started running. Now, Keith is running after me. He's like, Eagle 1 to base, abort. Mr. Wang is now going to the restroom. He follows me into the restroom, okay? He's still talking to them. So I'm at the urinal doing my business. And
He does have the package.
He has the package. That's a double. Oh my. Okay, so he's standing there. He's like, yes, Mr. Wang is finishing up. Yeah, no, and I did not look at it, whatever. So we come back around. And he says, he goes, okay, we're finally ready to go. And you hear the announcer inside, put your hands together for Ensign Harry Kim, Garrett Wang from Star Trek Voyager. They open up the doors, and instead of 100 or 75 people, there are 5,000 fans sitting in there. All the way to the end, the people at the back are tiny ants. I can't even make out if they're male or female, and they're applauding, they're screaming. I feel like I'm Mick Jagger, and now I'm nervous as hell. I'm walking on stage, and my whole body is shaking up with 5,000 people, and I get up to the microphone, and I start thinking, okay, I can do one of two things. I can take my fear and shove it down and hide it, which never works, right? Or I can acknowledge it in front of everyone. So I said, I'm gonna take the latter, and I looked at everybody, I grabbed the microphone, and I went, whoa. I said, I'm so nervous. And the minute I said I was nervous, I kind of, I cut through the nerves. And I said, I'm so sorry. I didn't expect this many fans to be here. Thank you. And I'm so nervous. And that's how my con career began. So I did 17 conventions before anyone on Voyager did one. So I was the young pup, but I was the Yoda of convention going. I was like, ask me a question about conventions, you will. So I was ready to do it. But I'll tell you right now, the greatest thing about Star Trek and Star Trek fans is that the passion is there, and also Star Trek is a show that I think all the actors here have experienced this. We've all had fans come up to us and tell us that at some point in their life, they were in a very, very dark place, and Star Trek provided that light at the end of the tunnel. And it's something that moves me, and it moves, obviously, the fans that come to tell us that. But to know that a show has the capability to lift people out of depression, to lift people out of a trajectory towards possible suicide or whatever it may be, is amazing to think about that. You know what I mean? I mean, there's no other show like that on television, right? So if you think about that, thank you. Star Trek is must-watch TV. It really is, And I always think about maybe all the major world leaders should be strapped to a chair and be forced to watch Star Trek. Right there. Putin, sit down. You're going to watch Star Trek. Right? Anyway.
We should get to the...
Next question, yeah.
Hi there. My question for you all is, when was the last time you were truly starstruck? Like, you guys are all such giants to us, but is there anybody in your field who you've talked to who you were nervous to talk to because you looked up to them?
Johnny?
Why don't we start with him?
Oh, we'll start with you. Walter? Do you have one? I wonder you have more time to think. I was trying to be respectful of my elders.
Right. Well, you're definitely not my elder, that's for sure.
All right, Walter, who? Who would it be?
Marlon Brando.
Oh, great choice.
Yeah, and I made a total fool of myself. As one must when in the presence of somebody like that.
Wow.
I was standing in line at Jerry's Delicatessen and to pay my bill. And there's a man standing in front of me. And I'm looking at his back, and I said, that looks a little bit familiar. And then almost on cue, he turns profile so that I can see the face. And I said, my God, it's Marlon Brando. And so I lean over and I say, you'll always be a hero to me. And he turns and it turns like this. And he's waiting to see where the knife is, but I don't actually have one. And that was bad. That was really bad. But I compounded it. I made it worse. I found a way to make it worse. And how I made it worse was he paid his bill. Of course, he didn't speak to me. He paid his bill. He was on his way out, and I looked, and his wallet is on the counter. I go, Mr. Brando! And I grab the wallet, and I run, and I give him the wallet. A total moron. I'm absolutely a total moron. And he takes it and sort of tries not to look at me and leaves. And I'm standing there like I'm 9 years old. But I got to give Mr. Brando his wallet, so I feel my life has not been for naught.
That's an awesome story. You could have kept the wallet and just put it on eBay, too. That would have been thank you. Mr. de Lancie, who's your Starstruck moment?
And it's
I
okay.
spent-
John, tell him it was me when he first met me.
I spent the night in the Oval Office with Barack Obama. We were watching old science fiction movies, and then he and Michelle and my wife, we played Twister until about 1 o'clock in the morning, and then slept in the Lincoln bedroom, and I mean, I was sort of in awe most of the time. But he didn't give me a job or anything like that, so that was pretty much it. There's actually. And what's yours?
I was in the Oval Office with Hillary. No.
Did you play Twister with her too?
Yes, I did. This is a true story. My dad owned a restaurant in Manhattan, a steakhouse, and it was
a very, very famous restaurant.
Steakhouse. His dad ran it too, and a lot of theater people and film people would eat there. It was called Frankie and Johnny's. And when I was a little boy, I was about 10 years old, I used to go in with my dad to the restaurant, and there were all these stars there. And one night, Henry Fonda was there at a table, and I asked my dad if I could get his autograph. And my dad said, sure. And he gave me a menu with a pen, and I went on. I was a little chubby little kid with little glasses, and I went up, excuse me, Mr. Fonda, could I please have your autograph? And he was very sweet. He said, yes, of course, and he signed it to me. And I was terrified. And then about 45 years later, I was in a Broadway play, and I had done Star Trek and stuff, and I was eating at my dad's restaurant. And this little boy, who's about 9 or 10 years old, came over and said, excuse me, Mr. Phillips, and he was a chubby little kid with glasses. He said, could I have your autograph? And I just did this complete, circle. It was just, it was really sweet. Yeah. And it meant so much to me. But I would say that the one I was most nervous about meeting, I was online with my wife to see a movie, and Philip Roth was in front of me. And I am a huge Philip Roth fan. And I read this American Pastorals, one of the great novels I've read in the last 20 years. And my wife nudged me and said, say hi to him. And so I said, excuse me, Mr. Roth? And I'm like my age, 48. And And he looked at me. He's a very tall guy. I babbled. I said, I read American Pastoral like 9 times. I think it's the greatest novel written in the last 50 years. And he smiled and said, thank you. And that was it. But I was very nervous to meet him.
Actually, there is one. I'll just take a moment.
Oh, you have a story.
I do.
Okay.
I went to a school in Philadelphia, a private school in Philadelphia, and it was Halloween. And our teacher said to us, I was in the 5th grade, our teacher said to us, I have a surprise for you. And it was just for our class, so there are like 22 kids or something like that. And we all go to the library, and the library was a standalone building, very kind of drippy Gothic with what is now not appropriate, elephants and tigers on the wall and what have you. And there, the library was completely dark, except in the corner there were some leather sofas. And there was a man sitting there with again, kind of a Victorian light. And he was sitting there, and we all sat around him, and he read to us The Monkey's Paw. It was Basil Rathbone. Wow. Yeah, and that was my first experience. And I was beginning to hone in on horror movies and things like that right around that age, around 11 or 12, whatever age that is. And I was like, oh my God, this is Basil Rathbone. Like that. So.
That was a great question, by the way.
Well, wait a second. I can say something good. I can say something complimentary about myself. If you know Basil Rathbone, then you probably have heard of Betty Grable, right? Of course. Please say you've heard of Betty Grable. She was the on all the ships and all the airplanes, she was the image that all the armed forces painted on their ships. She was known as Miss Legs or the pinup. Yeah, she was the pinup girl. And I took off from Star Trek for a month in the 3rd season because I just couldn't bear to say warp vector 4, warp vector 4, warp vector 4, anymore. I got tired of it. And I got an opportunity to do a play in Chicago opposite Jackie Coogan. Jackie Coogan was the little kid opposite Charlie Chaplin back when they made the movie The Kid. And it was great fun working with Jackie Coogan. He was great. He stole every moment he could. But once you knew the ground rules, you just went with it. Well, there was a sister theater opposite ours, and Betty Grable came in to do the lead in a play, musical, and afterwards we all repaired to a restaurant where it was sort of a tradition in that area that there's a radio interviewer it comes to opening night and then interviews the stars of the show afterwards. And he was a real jerk. He was a real jerk. He had a reputation for being a jerk. I think he wallowed in that reputation. And he was going on, and it turns out that Betty Grable and Jackie Coogan had been married when they were like 18 years old. And he turns to me and he says, I bet you never even heard of Betty Grable. And first he said to them, how is it you guys still have the hots for each other? Which I thought was so coarse. But then he turns and says, I bet you never even heard of Betty Grable. And I said, as a matter of fact, I know Miss Grable, when she leaves here, she's going to New York to reprise the same show. And she has a television series in L.A. On National Broadcasting System company that she's going to do, as well as a movie in Czechoslovakia and another one in France. And of course, I'm making all this up. And she's just sitting there and just looking at me, no expression on her face. And then he asked me something about the jacket I was wearing. He says, this was a double-breasted jacket. He says, is that what all the starlets wear? And I said, no. I said, my jacket has its genesis in the turn of the 20th century, whereas yours is only 15 years old. And then I got up and I left. But the moment that I so covet is I went to my table, and then I had to go to the John, and they broke up, because they were on the dais, and they broke up, and I crossed paths with Betty Grable, and she took my face in her hands and said, baby, you got class, and gave me a big kiss on the lips.
Wow. You guys all have amazing, amazing stories where you have that, whoa. Mine is much more pedestrian. I saw Robbie McNeil for the first time, Tom Paris, and I said, you were on Masters of the Universe! I was starstruck. And same way with Beltran. Beltran, I saw him, I go, you were on Night of the Comet and Eating Raoul. And both of, these are, to me, it was like, whoa, right? So these are cult films that I enjoyed. And nowhere close to your stories. But okay, so next question over here.
Yeah, first of all, hey Garrett, it's good to see you again.
Hello.
Ethan, I enjoyed you since Benson, growing up and everything. So, and every time you ever pop up into something, it's like, hey, I know that guy. It's like,
I do the same thing. That's me.
I want to first say something, because my dad died a few years back. I want to say something to Walter, because growing up, my dad and I would watch the Star Trek films over and over again, and you were one of his favorites. And so I just wanted to let you know that, Mr. Walter. And if my dad was alive and if he was here, he would probably be able to express it even more to you. But you were one of his favorites.
Thank you.
But my question is for Mr. de Lancie.
Deja vu.
Well, Mr. de Lancie, a few years back, some years back, apparently in a couple of different panels elsewhere, I guess, you had done a Spock versus Q recording with Mr. Leonard Nimoy. Now, of course, a few years back, he's passed away, and I don't know if this has ever been asked of you before or not, but do you think that you could possibly channel Q to give a eulogy for Spock Prime?
A eulogy for what? Spock dying? What was it? A eulogy for what?
For Spock, for Leonard.
For Spock.
Oh, you mean now?
If possible.
You mean after I'm finished with my eulogy for McCain later on in the day?
Yikes.
No, I can't. I worked closely with Leonard. I really grew to like him a great deal. I learned a lot from him. We had a very nice time producing the Alien Voices thing. I guess I am doing a eulogy, aren't I? A very nice time producing the Alien Voices stuff, and after about 4.5 years or so of that, we came to the conclusion that we had moved from creators to sellers of a product, and that we were both really not salesmen. There were other people who did it better than we were, and so we closed down the operation in a very happy way. And I saw him not too long before he passed away. He would come over to the house occasionally for dinners. I would certainly go over there, and when I got back from my very long trip where I sailed to the South Seas and back, he was one of the first people who I talked to. I mean, we had lunch together right after that, and so I miss him, and I miss him. That's it. Yeah.
And so,
thank you. We have a lot of people we should really proud.
We're moving. Yeah. I just love how all the questions, they're paying respect to Walter as if he's the godfather, and then they ask the question to John. So, Don Koenig, thank you for, okay. Over here, please.
Hey, this question is for Garrett Walter and Mr. Phillips. Over the past few years, y'all have been doing voiceover acting for Star Trek Online, which I just wanted to thank you all for that very much. We really enjoyed hearing it. But I also had a question. How was it reprising your roles after so many years?
John?
Not difficult. You know, I spent 7 years doing that, so even though it was, I think, about maybe 12 years later that I did the voice, I found it, I did no preparation, I just knew who he was. It was just me, you know. I've always felt acting was just kind of a relaxed revelation of who you are in the circumstance. So for me, it was just stepping right back into that kind of mindset of the moment. And it's a good question. Voice acting is a little difficult in some ways because, especially for a video game, because it really thrashes your voice. But this was more, it wasn't as dynamic as some of the games I've done, so it was easy on my voice. And, you know, I never did anything with my voice to be Neelix. So it just was stepping into it. It was relatively easy. Thank you, though, for asking that.
Walter?
It was okay. It was a job. I mean, voice acting is pretty much one-dimensional. I would never recommend a child to start acting in voice acting, for example, because it's not realistic. It's over the top. It's to emphasize things. It's not to be honest in your performance. Really, it's my feeling, and so I did it for the $1,030 that they paid me. You know? Pretty much.
Okay. Thanks for that. For me,
I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah. I love doing voiceover work on Star Trek Online, probably because I actually got promoted in Star Trek Online, so Captain Kim! Okay. Next question over here, please.
Yes, hello. I'm not going to bury the lead here. This one's for John de Lancie.
What?
I just want to say, I don't know if you hear this that often, but thank you for Q because he's been a real role model to me.
Did you just get out of prison?
Seriously though, the one line in Deja Q is going to stick with me forever. When he just flippantly says, change the gravitational constant of the universe. It's taught me a lot about just not giving up and always trying to find a solution for every problem that exists. So thank you for that. My question is, why Q? Like, why not any of the other letters of the alphabet? Like, was Q just a weird random letter? Like Z wasn't good enough?
Well, actually, there is an answer to that, and the answer that I got from the horse's mouth, as it were, Gene Roddenberry told me that he wrote. Actually, I saw the postcard. A friend of his, Janet Quatrain, I think that's her name, a woman in Scotland, showed me the postcard from Gene saying, "I'm sitting down to write an extension of the first, the pilot, and I'm going to name a character after you."
Thank you.
No, that's true. That's true. No, it isn't. It isn't.
Wait, before you leave.
No, it's true. It's true. It really is true.
We believe you.
Yeah.
No worries. It's changed the gravitational what of the universe?
Change the gravitational constant of the universe.
Thank you. This is going to be my saying for the rest of the year. Okay. Over here, please.
Okay, so first off, I want to say thank you for being in such an influential sci-fi series. I have literally grown up with this series and find new ways to appreciate it as I age as well. My question is, what's your all-time favorite, random event from set? What did you enjoy most?
Walter?
Ethan?
John?
Oh, guys, you are such babies.
Come on, John.
Oh, you know what? I sort of, what I liked was the fact that I only did 9 episodes in 3 different shows. But as time went on, I began to really know the face of the audience, and it's really helpful when that becomes the case. When you do a play, you get that in your mind. And so this is kind of a big, umbrella thing, is that I just enjoyed getting ready to do once a year a show and coming in very much with the face of that audience in mind as I was performing whatever the stuff was in that episode. So for me, that was something as an actor that I enjoyed.
Okay, so I'll give you a moment, a favorite moment, because I tend to think in those terms. We were doing Star Trek 4, and there was a scene where George, that's George Takei, Jimmy Doohan, Scotty, and DeForest were walking down the street. It was an exterior, and it was in the morning, and they were looking for something. And they were rehearsing it, and George had decided that his business was going to be that as he walked down the street, he would look in this tavern, in this bar, not terribly significant business, really had nothing to do with anything, but he gave him something to do. So they rehearsed it. Okay, let's roll, action, this is a rehearsal. And he'd come down and he'd look in, and 11 o'clock in the morning, there's a woman sitting on a stool at the bar, and she turns and looks at him and goes, like that. And he takes that away, and that's his business. So we rehearse it 2 or 3 more times, exact same thing happens. Comes down, looks in, she waves at him. Now Leonard says, okay, this is action. And so George comes down, he looks in the window, and this time she goes, oh my. My favorite moment.
Yeah, this is a family-oriented panel.
Random moment.
Kids, that means yay! That's all it means. Go ahead, Ethan.
I wish I had been there. And a random moment that happened to me that's was really sweet and amazing was it was early on in the show, and I used to get to the set, to the makeup trailer, 3:34 in the morning.
A little louder.
I used to get to the set 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was there, and I got my makeup put on. And the first scene was on stage 16, which required leaving the makeup trailer, walking a little bit, and making a left and going down a very, very long alley between two of the studios. And the sun was just coming up. It was relatively dark still. And I made the left turn, and as I made the left turn, way down at the end of the alley, I could see this other guy make a left turn, and we were coming towards each other. And as we got about maybe 20 feet apart, I realized it was Robin Williams. And he saw me, and he went, oh my God, I was all in makeup. He said, oh my God, it's Mr. Neelix. Oh, he's gonna cook in outer space. Oh, the eggs are getting bigger and bigger. He did this 15, 20-second routine just for me. And then when it was over, he bowed, he says, I love your character. And I went to him, I love what you do. And he gave me a big hug, and we smiled, and he walked on, and I walked back the rest of the way. I'll never forget it. It was really lovely.
He was filming, I don't know what movie he was filming.
He was on the Paramount lot doing La Cage aux Folles.
Okay, La Cage aux Folles. But evidently he came back to the set 5 or 6 times. He was standing in the Borg regeneration thing. He was doing all like he was a total fan tourist. Oh yeah, he came back
was a huge
over
fan
and
of
over
Voyager.
and over again. Yeah. My favorite moment, I had a lot of favorite moments, but my favorite moment with Ethan Phillips was, it's a lesson in perspective. We were filming at Bronson Canyon in Los Angeles, and it was hot, a very hot day. All the actors playing human, myself, myself, Chakotay, Paris, we were all complaining about the heat. We're like, oh, it's so hot, bring us water, we need an umbrella. We were just complaining. 30 minutes into our complaining, Ethan Phillips finally says something. He's quiet the whole time. He goes like, shut up! Shut up! All of you, shut up! None of you is wearing a mattress on top of your head! And he was saying with such conviction, his fake teeth flew out of his mouth also. And that's when you know he's serious. When his teeth fly out, Neelix is serious. He's not going to play around.
You know,
All right.
I remember that day was so hot, North Korea had launched a popsicle. I'll never forget it.
But it's a lesson in perspective. You may think you have it bad, but somebody else has got it worse, you know? So we'll take another question, please. Which side are we at? Right here. Okay.
Hi, I'd like to know if any of you, I collect novels, autobiographies, and if any of you have any autobiographies, just say yes. And if there's enough time left, if you don't, could you volunteer the titles of the first 4 chapters of your autobiography?
Mine is Shields Up in 30 seconds.
Mine would be The Cheese Stands Alone.
John or Walter, care to join in?
Fine actor, weather permitting.
I actually do have one, and it's called Warp Factors and the Neurotics Guide to the Universe.
All right. Thanks for that question.
I just got to go back to that day. It was so hot, I remember, because Dick Cheney was waterboarding himself.
All right. Over here. Quickly. Gather yourself.
We're out of time.
Oh, are we not? Oh, they're telling you no more? Are we done, guys?
Sorry.
Oh, okay. Hey, by the way, these gentlemen are going to be at the Walk of Fame, so if you want to come by, and if you didn't get to ask your question, you can ask a question down there and say hello, maybe get an autograph from these fine gentlemen. Thank you very much. Give a round of applause for all the actors and to yourselves for being here.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end. You can subscribe here to subscribe to the channel. There's more videos off to the left. Mr. J says, don't forget to ring that bell button for more notifications.